Okay, we're going to start working with rational expressions. Rational expression is basically a fraction where the numerator and denominator are both polynomials. Remember, the top is the numerator, the bottom is the denominator, and it's basically a quotient of two polynomials. When the numerator and denominator have no common factor except 1 and -1, we say it's reduced to lowest terms or it's simplified. The polynomial in the denominator cannot equal 0 because division by 0 is undefined. The value of the variable which makes the denominator 0 will be eliminated from the domain of the variable, which we've already talked about. So to reduce a rational expression, you're going to factor the numerator and the denominator as much as possible and then cancel common factors. So in this first one, since we have a trinomial, that means we will probably have the product of two binomials. So each of the coefficients of the x squared terms are 1. So we know we have an x and an x in each of the binomials. Now we want to find two numbers which when multiplied give us 4 and when added give us a positive 4. They're both positives. So that means we have a plus in each of the binomials. And the only number that when multiplied and added give us 4 are 2 plus 2. So the factored form of x squared plus 4x plus 4 is x plus 2 times x plus 2. Now for the denominator, we also have an x and an x. Everything's positive, so we have a plus and a plus. Now, there aren't too many numbers which when multiplied that give us 2, just 1 and 2, and when we add them we get 3, so we have x plus 1 and x plus 2. Now, if we look at this, both the numerator and the denominator have an x plus 2. So that's a common factor. So we're going to cancel out 1x plus 2 from the numerator and the x plus 2 in the denominator, which means our simplified form is the binomial x plus 2 over the binomial x plus 1. And I leave it in parentheses to show me or remind me that I can't do any more canceling unless I cancel the whole binomial. Now for the next one, we have x cubed minus 8. Earlier when we were talking about multiplying, we had a general form that came up to be x cubed plus 8. And what it is, it's x minus 2. Then we square the x to get x squared. We take the opposite sign, so it's going to be a plus. Then we multiply the two terms, so that gives us a 2x. The last sign is always positive, and 2 squared is 4. Now, if we multiply this binomial by the trinomial, we will end up with a binomial x cubed minus 8. Now, in the denominator, we have a common factor. Both terms has an x squared in it. So if we factor out the x squared, so x cubed divided by x squared gives us an x. Carry over the sign, 2x squared divided by x squared gives us a 2. So these two polynomials have an x minus 2 in common, which we will cross out, and our final answer is x squared plus 2x plus 4 over x. Again, you can put the trinomial in parentheses to remind you that you can't do anything else with it. Now for the next one, we have 8 minus 2x, where 8 and 2 are both divisible by 2. And that leaves us with a 4 minus x. In the denominator, we have a trinomial, which means we're probably going to have two binomials, an x and an x. Now, two numbers which when multiplied give us negative 12, and when added give us negative 1. Well, negative 4 times a positive 3 is negative 12, and negative 4 plus 3 is a negative 1. Now we see that these two factors, 4 minus x and x minus 4, are very similar. What we can do to rewrite it so it looks the same is we can now factor out a negative 1. If we divide negative x by negative 1, we get positive x. 4 divided by negative 1 gives us negative 4. Now that factor looks like the one in the denominator. So x minus 4 and x minus 4 cancels. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And x plus 3 in the denominator. So sometimes you'll have to do that. You'll see that the factors are similar but opposite. And when that's true, you just divide out a negative 1 or factor out a negative 1. Now with the numerator here, we have a common factor. Common factor is 3. First term divided by 3, we're left with an x. Second term, we're left with a 3. Denominator, we have a difference of 2 squares. So we have an x and an x in each set of parentheses. We have a minus and a plus. Square root of 9 is 3. So we have x minus 3 times x plus 3. X plus 3 cancels. We're left with 3 over x minus 3 as our reduced or simplified form.